might just...
I did want to ask a question. Well, actually, I see Ms. Rodriguez at the podium. Is there an issue you'd like to raise?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Is there a legal issue?
There is a legal issue. Thank you. So, sorry, it goes to the emergency passage provision.
Yes.
In order to pass it on an emergency basis, council needs to make a finding of a health and safety reason. And I didn't hear one if there was one. So that there just needs to be an official finding, and then I can include that in the ordinance for the emergency passage.
Yeah. And Mayor, if we could, before we get to that, there is one thing I'd like to ask of Ms. I guess Mr. Johnson and Ms. Mims, and that is having observed all of the amendments that we've put in place today. I guess the emergency would be if assuming all this is still going to be workable, that under these terms that this still does offer a framework within which your companies would be able to work, then that would be the emergency. If not, then we could pass this on second reading only and continue working on this till we get something in place till we get something approved that could work. I just want to ask, and I know there have been a number of amendments, including one on insurance that requires primary commercial coverage anytime that app is on, even when there's no passenger on the car. And so I just want to make sure that will be workable, and if so, then I'll support second and third reading and on an emergency basis. But I just want to make sure that is going to be workable.
I mean, on that provision, we still have very considerable concern regarding that provision on primary insurance during the app-on period. And we would have to, I don't have an answer for that right now because I'd have to talk to people that would, let's just say, above my pay grade to make that decision on where we would be at as far as agreeing to that provision. It is a very considerable issue for us as a company to require primary commercial insurance during that app-on period.
Okay, and I guess I would like to ask the same question of Ms. Mims. Does this appear to be something that would be workable, in which case we'll move as quickly as we can towards an agreement, and if not, we may need to take a little more time to think about it more carefully.
And so you're revisiting the amendment?
Actually, I'm stepping back and looking back at the whole package, all the amendments that we put in place, including the requirement of primary commercial coverage anytime the app is on, whether there's a passenger or not. Then does that appear to be a workable framework?
So we are deeply concerned about this provision. I think what I should say first of all is that we've never entered into an operating agreement that required primary coverage at period one. And from our concern, it really has to do with the fact that when the app is on, that's not commercial activity. The driver could be in the vehicle, they could be sitting at home, they could be doing something completely unrelated to providing rides. And so we're worried about what are the implications of setting a precedent where any time an application is on, a TNC is required to provide that primary coverage. Especially with respect to innovation. There are 2 TNCs in the room right now, but we're hoping that there's more innovation, that there are more transportation platforms in the future. So what are the implications, and how are other TNCs, aside from maybe one, going to be able to survive this type of costliness, especially when we don't believe that there's any kind of increased risk involved? There's a big distinction between people who are using their personal vehicles. Those vehicles are not designed to be available for hail, and because they're personal vehicles, no one's going to have the impression that those people are available for hire. If the app is on, the app is there so that that driver can receive information. They may decide to accept the ride. They may decide not to. And so we're worried about what are the implications of providing primary coverage during that time period.
And your concern about that is significant enough that you have reservations as to whether this would be a workable regulatory framework for your company.
I don't make the decisions, but I am very concerned. Okay.
Well, given the concerns we've heard from both of the companies in the room and the uncertainty as to whether this will work at all, then I'm inclined to suggest that we just pass this on second reading and give this further consideration, because I don't think we want to give something final approval on an emergency basis only to find that it just doesn't work. And so I think it's worth taking a little more time to make sure that we've got a workable framework in place. So with that in mind, Mayor, I would move that we approve this on second reading only.
So Councilmember Riley amends his motion to be second reading only. Mayor Pro Tem, do you approve that? Okay.
And to be clear, that this would be brought back at our next meeting, which is in 2 weeks, October 16th.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Passes on a vote of 6-1, with Councilmember Morrison voting no. Without objection, we're in recess until approximately 7 p.m.